Welcome to the Women's March Canada podcast, making the equality of women in Canada the new norm. This is episode 47, titled We Women Wear Various Hats. My name is Melissa Durrell, and I'm your host. Women's March Canada inspires, unites, and leads the charge for the advancement of women across Canada. Now, please welcome our guest today, which is Latanya Farquharson. Got it? Latanya?
Yeah, you got it. You got it.
Okay, amazing. Okay, so, let me just tell everybody, by day, Latanya is the right hand to the executive legal professionals in various sectors of the legal world, but specifically around immigration and health law, personal injury, environmental law, civil litigation, just to name a few. But by night, you run Elegantly Angeleta, which is a special events stationery business, which is super cool because when I think of stationery, I think of a business that's kind of old school and you're young and hip. So how did you stumble into stationery? You look one of those people that collected papers when you were little because you loved the feel of it.
I was.
I
was. Stationery, I think that it's kind of coming back. I feel like people are finding a lot of value in getting physical, for example, like physical thank you cards. People value them a lot more because we're in an age where everything is digital. So, getting that thank you card in the mail that's totally custom to you is starting to be a lot more popular. A lot of people are kind of coming back to it. So, yeah.
Okay, so let's start at the beginning here.
Okay.
Law's your game, right? So how did you get involved with that?
So the legal field, my mom actually used to be a law clerk a really long time ago when I was younger. She used to be a law clerk, and I kind of just followed suit in her footsteps. I saw that she was really happy in the field, and I kind of just followed along, and I love it. I absolutely love the legal field. It is so diverse. It's just amazing to be in every day. It's you pretty much don't have the same day every day. It's always different. So
one of the things I loved about being a journalist forever. But what does it look like for you? I mean, everyone always said if you want to go into law, you got to love to read and research. Is that true? Yeah.
Yes. So I actually studied history in university. I went to York University, and my original major was poli-sci, and a friend of mine introduced me to a history class, and I just went crazy. I loved it. I loved the research aspect of it. I loved, understanding all of the steps that leads you up to, where we are today. And that's kind of what made me transition into just strictly history. So I do love researching, and I do love reading. I read online, I listen to things. I just really enjoy reading as well. So it fits.
So, I mean, I don't know if you're ready to do this, but let's roll up our sleeves because I've heard there's a lot of issues with the law in Canada at this point. And a lot of it is, now I'm hearing a lot of it from police where they're, making the arrests, they bring it in to the court and it's getting plead out. I mean, do you see this on a daily basis? What do you think's wrong with our justice system right now? I'm going deep. We're going deep.
Yeah, right off the bat. I mean, in my field currently, I don't do any criminal law, so I can't really speak to law enforcement. However, I do tax law right now. So it's a little different, but I would say, right now it's the dynamic of what's happening in America is I feel like it's a little bit trickling over to Canada in terms of, just people's, their attitude towards certain things in, gun violence. This rise in gun violence in Toronto is just blowing my mind. Every day I'm seeing, shootings, and every weekend there's, something happening. And I feel like, I don't know how to comment on it anymore because there's just so much going on, and it's so crazy because this is the city I grew up in, and it's always been that safe, diverse, wonderful city to live in. And now it's you don't even feel safe.
It's interesting because I've heard people say that too. And I think, the shooting on the Danforth, that was a pretty big deal in the sense that it really shook people in a way that they haven't had that before.
Yeah.
And I think it's also now everyone's really on high alert. So every single violent act that happens in Toronto, it's like, you know, people are hearing it in a way that they didn't maybe hear it before.
Right.
What do you think some of the issues are right now in Toronto when it comes to that? I mean, is there a gun problem, or are we just hearing about it more because, you know, we really had one controversial thing or not controversial, but one tragedy that happened, I should say?
I don't think Canada, or I guess Toronto, ever really had, I mean, I don't think they had a gun problem. I think that illegal guns definitely are coming into the country somehow. I don't know if it was a problem before. It's becoming a problem now because I think that people are finding more creative ways to get them over here, and they're a little more brazen and, you know, the ability of wanting to use them, you know, so they're not afraid anymore.
Do you feel safe in your city still, or what's it like day to day?
Sorry, I didn't hear you.
I said, do you still feel safe in Toronto, or has that changed for you?
I mean, I still feel safe because I think I've lived in the city my whole life, so I kind of have an understanding of, you know, where to go, where not to go, you know, and I do feel safe. I'd say I still do feel safe. However, there's still that thing in the back of my mind that's like, okay, like I could be a statistic, like something could happen, something crazy could happen, and I could be in the forefront, you know, like, so there's always that, you know, that fear in the back of your mind. But Toronto's a safe city. Like it's been a safe city, and I feel like there's just people who are unfortunately tarnishing that name now, and it's just really sad. It's such a beautiful city. I love it here.
Yeah, I remember I went to university actually in Toronto.
Awesome.
Yeah, and I moved from Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, and I remember so
Okay.
many people saying to me like, "Oh my God, it's such a big city!" Like, but I always said like, my Toronto's actually smaller than Saskatoon because I only really lived within a certain space, right, between
Right.
university and my house, and at that point I was bartending, so the bar that I was working at, and that was my safe space.
Right.
You know, it's not like it's a, you know, multi-million person city. It was very small. So I totally get where you're coming from. You get your comfort zones. Okay, so let's ease up and go in a different direction here. I want to talk about entrepreneurship because, frankly, you know, being a lawyer, like working in law and researching, that's not it doesn't tend to be a place where someone branches off into entrepreneurship. So how did you know you wanted to start your own company?
I think I started a long time ago. I feel like I've always had an entrepreneurial mindset where, you know, when I graduated from university, I moved back home and I was living in Newmarket. And while I was in Newmarket, I started a business, actually, a soccer business. So I played soccer my entire life. And I started just a small, you know, I said, you know, I want to join a league, but I want to join like a league where, you know, it's men and women, and, you know, just people are coming to have fun, to exercise, and, you know, blow off some steam from the week. And, you know, so I started that business, and it actually went really well. So I kind of got a little pep in my step at that point. And, you know, it kind of just grew from there, where I was like, okay, where do I fit in? Like, if I do want to start a business, where do I fit in? What do I love to do? What's going to be sustainable for me, you know?
Yeah. And so how did you get into stationery then?
So with stationery, actually, so a friend of mine had asked me to help her with her stationery a few years ago. And she kind of just came to me and she said, like, hey, like, you're a creative. Like, it'd be so cool if you'd help me with your stationery. And I was like, creative? Really? Like, I didn't think people could see that through me because of that, like, I guess that like legal,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know, legal day hat that I have on. So, you know, I said, you know what, let's try it out. Why not? Like, what's the worst that could happen? You know, we can always hire someone professional if I totally don't do well at this, you know? So as I was going through it, I actually really loved it. I enjoyed it so much. And it was like a spark that went off that was like, okay, maybe this is what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm not really sure. So it took me a while. So again, it was a couple years ago, and I actually just launched my business in March.
Okay.
of this year. So it took me a while to do my research. Again, the legal hat.
Yeah.
Um, right. So I did my research, I did some market research to find out, like just different things that has to do with the stationery world and, how it's thriving and, how it was 10 years ago and how it is now and stuff like that. So, yeah. And then one day I just decided, I said, you know what? I love this. I actually enjoy it. And I found myself doing stuff to improve my skills in my free time. So I was like, okay, if I'm doing stuff in my free time, this probably means that it's something that's important and something that can be, pursued long term. So that's kind of where it came in.
And so mostly wedding, or is that sort of your niche then?
I would say I'm niching myself in weddings, but I'm trying to stay wedding and event. So I've been doing like stuff for like baby showers and like gender reveal parties and just events in general, just special events happening in your life type of thing.
So I don't know if it's the same as with bakers, but I have the friends who are like, oh, I'll just make a few wedding cakes for my friends because I love to cook. And then the next
Yeah.
thing you own a bakery. Was it the same thing for you? Was mostly friends that you were working with, and now you're successful when people come to you and you don't know who they are?
Yes. That's exactly it. I did have like a lot of friends that came to me and, I did a lot of work that I wasn't paid for. I just wanted to do it because I wanted to improve my skills and I was okay with it. I was okay with learning and, just brushing up on certain things that I wanted to learn about, creative suite. And yeah, it just kind of just blossomed.
What advice would you have for young women wanting to start their own companies? What are some of the tips that you've learned over the last couple of years? It took you a while to ideate. Do you think that that's the secret to your success, is that you really knew your market space and you knew the product that you were going to deliver?
I think so, yes. Any entrepreneur that wants to start a business, it's important to do your research. It's really important because if you want a business that's sustainable and something that, you want to do long term, you have to understand your market. You have to understand who you're appealing to, who's going to purchase your product or service. And, you have to understand that as a whole. So I think the years that I spent researching were so valuable because now this year, I didn't even have an actual launch date. I kind of just jumped, I was like, okay, we're doing this, so started my website and so forth. But I would say, do your research, make sure you know who you're marketing to, your product or your service. Don't worry about everything being perfect because it's never going to be perfect. Right now, my business is not perfect. I'm still, refining things and understanding things about myself and, learning every single day. So, yeah, I would say that. And make sure you have like a good support group around you, people that are really, really pushing you to be your best, people who are pushing you and giving you good criticism, constructive criticism is good, and, positive criticism, so it's good to get people who tell you, hey, Latanya, like that doesn't look good. You should probably do this, or maybe you can try this out, I like when people tell me the truth. It helps me to grow,
Yeah.
so.
I agree with that too. I worked in a newsroom for so long where people were just so blatantly honest that you could do, like, you really get a thick skin, you take it. Um, so I love what you're so right around knowing your market, knowing your space, I think. Did you utilize any like community groups or anything like that to help you grow your business? Is there anything like that that you could share with our listeners?
Absolutely. So I actually hired a mentor. So my mentor, her name is Paulina Reed. She's a mentor that she mentors actually millennial women. So very niched also. And, she's helped me a lot to understand different aspects of my business, how to grow it, who to talk to, how to, how to market myself. Like she's just like a ball of everything. She's just awesome. So I think mentorship is really important to have somebody, whether it's somebody who you pay or someone who, you know, you really look up to and you value their opinion, you know, someone maybe in the design world. For me, I have a few people who I follow, and I, you know, I ask them questions about, you know, how they started their businesses and, you know, how they've maintained their businesses. So, so yeah, like that's one of the community groups I would say. I'm trying to actually get into, there's a website, I think it's called 10,000 Coffees or something along that line. I'm trying to get out there more, to get out to networking events. I'm actually doing a few bridal shows between now and the end of the year. So, you know, just networking, I guess, that type of thing.
So how do you balance the two? I mean, is there a part of you that just wants to quit law and grow your business? Or do you foresee this as sort of, this is who you are? You're going to have a side hustle and a career.
I love that word, the side hustle. I mean, I think that in the creative world, it's very difficult to be, no, I won't say difficult. I won't say difficult. In the creative world, it's easy to think that you can just do something else that has steady income and pays the bills, you know? Yeah. And, you know, I feel like if you're very focused and you really love what you want to do, it can definitely be sustainable. I would love for it to be my full-time, you know. I don't see it in my 5-year periphery right now, just because I'm still torn. I love, as I said, I love the legal field. I love working in the law sector. But then I do love that creative outlet that I get from my stationery business. So I can't really answer that question affirmatively yet, because I do love both. But if I were to give you full time,
no one understands you more than I do. I've actually led a double life where I run my own company, Joe Communications, but I'm also a politician. And I for the longest time, my joke was, when I grow up, I'll have to pick a job. So for 8 years, I've been doing 2 jobs. It was just recently that I decided I won't be running in the next election, and I'm just going to focus on Joe Communications. So I think when you know when it's the right time, then you'll know the decision. But if you can't, then I still think if you can do them both well, and that's the hard part, right? Is being able to do them both well. And but at the same time, you know, I take my hat off to you. And it's doable, at least for 8 years. You might get more gray hairs, though. I will say I do have one I did 8 years ago, but maybe not. Okay, so tell me a little bit about, okay, I have 2 more questions. The first is, what would you tell yourself 5 years ago when you're starting your business out?
What would I tell myself 5 years ago?
Your advice. What would be your best advice for you 5 years ago?
5 years ago,
or 4 years ago, you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I'm just thinking, like, I would tell myself to be more open to mistakes. You know, I think if, like 5 years ago or 4 years ago, I was afraid to make mistakes, afraid to, you know, to start a business, because I was like, you know, seeing people start businesses and fail, you know. So I would tell myself to create my own path and totally go all in if I'm wanting to do something. And, you know, like with my business, my soccer business, I could have definitely had a sustainable business then, but I was kind of like, you know, I don't think it'll work, and, you know, talk myself out of it. So, you know, I definitely would say to my old self to jump and, you know, see what comes of it, because you never know. It could be something great. It could start off as a stationery business and end up being a multi-million-dollar company in, you know, a few years.
Yeah,
the possibilities are so endless.
Open and risk. I love it. So tell everyone how they can find you online, like all your channels. Give it up.
Sure. So my website is www.elegantlyangeleta.com.
Angeleta? Who's Angeleta?
Angeleta is me, actually. That's my middle name.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. It's my middle name as well as my mom, too. So decided to be fitting.
Perfect. Props to moms. Okay.
Yeah.
You're a mom, too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Nice. Did you give your daughter that middle name, too?
I don't have kids yet, but I plan for that to be her middle name as well.
Very cool. Love it, love it, love it. Okay, so
Yeah.
anyway, give us your channels.
Okay, so my website again, www.elegantlyangeleta.com. My Facebook is at Elegantly Angeleta Designs. My Instagram is elegantly_Angeleta, and I just got Twitter. Woo! So my Twitter name is at Latanya Farq, so FARQ.
All right, quick rapid fire questions. Tea or
All
coffee?
right. Tea all the way.
Vintage or modern?
Vintage.
And facts or fiction?
Facts.
I knew it. You're a lawyer. I knew you were going to say that.
Of
Thank you for our guest, Latanya. You're amazing. Thank you so much. Great
Thank
energy.
you so much for having me.
Love how you balance your life. It's amazing. Some great tips for entrepreneurs.
Oh, thank you.
Take care. And
you too.
everyone who listened, your comments are welcomed and they are encouraged. Please subscribe to the Women's March Canada channel and receive updates every single time we upload a new podcast, which usually is on a Friday. Our mission across Canada is to stand together in solidarity with our partners and children for the protection of our rights, our safety, our health, and our families, recognizing that our vibrant and diverse communities are the strength of our country. This is the Women's March Canada podcast. And I'm your host, Melissa Darrell. Take care. All right, let's see where we're at here, and done.